Hi everyone, I hope you guys are doing great. You know, in the last video, I had included, when I was videotaping everything, the campground, I had included a little tour of my garden. But then when I went to edit it later, I took it out because the video was way over 20 minutes long. So I said, I'll just make a separate video with my little garden tour in it. And so that's what I have done. So enjoy, and I'll be back. And while I'm here, I may as well show you my garden. These are the peas. I started off with 4 containers of peas, but 2 of them, they just weren't flowering. So next year I'll stick with these 2. And this is Cascadia, the new one I got. It's got plenty of flowers on it, and my old standby that I always had back at the house was Little Marble. So those are the only 2 I'll be doing next year because, you know, if you don't produce, you're gone. I'm not going to sit and baby these things. You know, if they're not giving me vegetables, I'm not going to mess with them because I have other things to grow here. So it's been a while since I showed you these things, but these 3 bigger containers here, this one, and this one over here are the peppers. The farthest one's the banana peppers, and these are the shishitos. I'm not really thrilled about how these shishitos, I only got 4 really good sized ones out of this, and they all should just be the same size. They all start at the same time, but they're just stunted. And I've never ran into that before, so I don't know what the deal is on that. So I ended up with a lot less shishitos than I wanted. And here are the little, I forgot what these were called. But anyway, they're going to be cherry tomatoes, and they're good size from the last time you saw them, but they're getting flowers, and I've been picking the flowers off because they're too little to make tomatoes right now. They need to get bigger. And I've been doing that for a while, just picking them off. The tiny Tims are staying tiny, which is unusual. I put one there, and I think there's one here. This is arugula. This is nasturtiums. It's a flower. It's really tasty. And here's my onions. These are green onions, and they're doing really good. Now what I have to do is I cook, and what I'm eating, I'll just clip off the ends and throw it in some food or whatever. I started, I had one of those bush tomatoes. They stay small, the plant does, yet you get bigger tomatoes. A rabbit or a squirrel or something ate one of them, and I only had 2. So this is one. And this is, I just put these in these bigger pots yesterday because I'd gotten rid of the peas in there. And this is another one of the cherries. I had 3 of the cherry ones. But yeah, and normally for some reason cherry plants get bigger than regular tomato plants. I don't know why, but they can get really large. At least that's been my experience. But so I went ahead and put, this is the bush one, bush steak. And I started 3 more. And probably like this will end up in a big pot too, because I want the bigger tomatoes if possible. We'll see. I was really upset because a critter ate one of the tomato plants, just ate it. It was gone. It wasn't lying on the ground. Tomato plants don't taste that good, so I couldn't figure out who the heck took it. There was no sign of it anywhere. So I was like, why didn't you eat one of the cherries? I had too many of the cherry plants, but no, they took one of my bush steak ones. And this little guy is a tiny Tim, and I'm concerned about him because he's so yellow, and I think he just needs more nitrogen. Say it's like this one here. I don't know. And that one looks fine. But this one, since I transplanted, has started turning yellow, and that's weird because this has got fertilizer in it, and this, well, this does too, but I think this might just need some kind of a nitrogen to get back green again. And here's another, you can see that barely, another, oops, missed it. It's hard to do. Starting to flower here. They're just not big enough to be making flowers right now, so, or tomatoes. Okay, so that's my garden. It's getting there. And here in the next couple weeks or so, I will, when these guys stop flowering and everything, I'll just move the tomatoes over and peppers into these. Should have about 7 pots altogether, 6 or 7, so that's not bad. Okay, so that was a little clip of the garden. It's coming along. It's not quite as robust as, well, I'll tell you what, I was watching my garden videos from back when I had the house, and I had huge gardens there. And they just weren't anywhere near, it just brought tears to my eyes. They're just not as robust. They're not as thriving as my little transplants and things I had at the house. And I'm trying to figure out why. And I think one of the things, well, first of all, I had told you that when I planted my greens and my lettuces and everything, it seems like forever ago. And they were coming up real nice and everything, and then some kind of critter got to them. So I put some netting over it and threw some more seed down. I think I threw seeds down 2 more times. Anyway, what happened was when they did come up, they only got about that high and they just immediately bolted and went to seed. And I think part of the problem is, first of all, okay, when I was in Missouri, because of the climate slowly changing and getting warmer and warmer, it was getting to be a shorter amount of time that I could grow those greens and stuff in the springtime, because it would seem like as soon as April, May hit, the temperatures would warm up so fast. So I only had a small window in the spring that I could grow those anyway. And I think part of my problem is here in New Mexico, I started off on the east side of New Mexico when I planted them. I was over in Roswell, and I was slowly traveling across, changing gardening zones and things. And by the time the 3rd round of my seeds started coming up, it was just too hot. It was too warm. I want to say sometimes you get up around the 80s and things just start bolting. This is the spring veggies, and that's what happened. Now my peas took forever to come out, and really I didn't know when to plant anything here. I was guessing. I think I can remedy that next year, and whether I will do greens or not, I don't know, because like I said, there's such a small window to do those in. But if I decide to do them, and I will definitely do peas, I always do peas. Next year, I actually, I was kind of touring around New Mexico trying to find the best campgrounds to stay at next year, and I found a couple. They're over in the southwest. They're in a one area. I will be in that one area whole winter and spring. So I will look up when the best times to plant these different things are and decide whether I wanted to plant the greens or not. I might not. I might just go straight with the peas. I always do peas. But so that's one thing I'm going to do. I am going to be in one area next winter, and I will stay in that area the whole winter. The second thing I noticed when I was showing you how way back when I was mixing the soil, I was just buy the cheap topsoil, and I mixed it with the compost and threw some fertilizers and stuff in there. And that's the way I used to do it at the house, and it was fine. It worked for Missouri just fine. And also another thing was, year after year, those pots, and I kept amending them. I do things in pots and even in the ground. My earth beds, I call them. You just keep amending them with things in the fall, and they get richer and richer each year. Well, it was the same thing. I'm basically doing hugelkultur in these little pots, which is like putting leaves and branches and things that will break down and feed the soil Well, I was doing that also so the pots would be lighter. You know, it'd be like half branches and leaves or grass or whatever I could find at the time, and then half soil. What I found was happening is, I have stated this before, New Mexico does not allow any moisture to exist in the air for very long. Well, the moisture was being just absolutely just sucked right out of the soil, and it was just as hard as a rock, you know. And I said, I can't do that here. I can't just throw topsoil in with compost and amend it and everything. And because how would you like to be a plant growing in rock? Because that's basically it. I had to water them twice a day, and this stuff was just as hard as a rock. So they're still in that soil here, but next year, this last batch, I just started 2 little pots, or just recently, and this time I ran out of the soil. I ran down to Walmart and I bought a bag of potting soil that had peat moss and other water retaining elements in it, and to keep that soil moist, and also so it was already amended too, and it costs a little bit more to buy it that way. But I think this is why I have peppers and I have tomatoes, and I have this video, I just showed them to you, but actually it's a week and a half later and they're bigger even now. But they're just not where I want them. You know, they're just, I don't know, maybe I'm just paying too much attention to them and they don't seem to be growing fast. But when I look back in my video, these from my garden, they were just gorgeous transplants, you know, just really thriving. And these guys, I'm just not seeing that lushness to them. I don't know how else to explain it. And I want that. So I think between being in one area, finding out, reading, researching when to plant things in that area, and this will be in the southwest of New Mexico, and then and changing that soil in the pots, like I was doing the horticulture thing, because you know, over time it feeds the soil, but the problem is I don't want to carry soil around with me all next winter in pots in my van. So at the end of the year I'm just going to toss it. I'll carry the pots, but I can't carry all this soil in the pots. It's just crazy. So I'll start it all over, and then every year just start it all over with a potting mixed soil. It's already amended and everything. It also helps that I'm not carrying as much extra stuff in the van too. But I think between those two things, knowing my growing zone, staying in the growing zone, I do have the netting for, you know, for the critter thing, and excuse me, and having soil that will retain some moisture a little bit longer. And I think between that I might be able to have plants that are really, little transplants that are really thriving. What's so funny, I was looking, I only had those like 4 shishitos that turned out well, and I love shishito peppers. I wanted like 8 or 9, you know, plants, and they just, you know, some of them just got that big and that's it. But so I was looking in Walmart at these peppers, and they'd have them, you know, about the size of the ones I have now. They wanted $5 each for them. They had smaller peppers, but they were all jalapenos and stuff that were only like $1.99 or something, and I could handle that. But $5 for a little pepper plant? No. That's why I grow things from seed. So I was a little disappointed. I thought I'll just buy some extra plants, and that way I can have my like 8 shishito plants, but that's not going to happen. So we only have 4. I ended up tossing out the little ones because I just can't keep things that aren't going to produce anything, you know. I baby them when they're little, but you know, I can't do that. Oh, which reminds me, oh my gosh, I'm at a new place and it gets really cold here. So I have to put these things in the van at night So you guys remind me next year, don't come up to the mountains till sometime in June because it is horribly cold up here at night. And I got to looking in my little calendar, and I know I'm babbling. I got to look in my little calendar. I kept track of everything last year when it came up, and it ends up I did not come up to these mountains till like the middle of July. That's why it was so beautiful when I came up here. At the beginning of June, it is cold. It gets nice during the day, though still it's in the 60s where I am right now. I'm no longer where I was when I made the gardening video. I think you guys know that. But I will catch you all up on that eventually. But I noticed, I looked on the forecast, and they're going to have nights in the 20s. And I thought, oh my gosh, I got to remember to bring my peppers and tomatoes in. It's just going to kill them all. So yeah, next year I need to just stay down, you know, in some area that is, you know, maybe at 5,000 feet or something, where it's not real hot, it's not real cold, just 5,000, 6,000 feet, and not even start coming up till the middle of June or something. Because I'm looking at the forecast, and it's middle of June before it starts getting up in the 70s and maybe high 30s, 40s at night, which is much colder than what I have been living at for here the last month or so. So anyway, I really got off subject, but I do need to bring those tomatoes and peppers in. Right now, I just got here, and I'm only staying one day and moving to another spot, so I didn't even unhook. I did not take my veggies, my tomatoes and peppers out of the van, so they should be fine. But that's kind of a pain coming up here and having to, yeah, their last frost date isn't until like sometime in June. I didn't plan this well, though. I thought I did, and I just didn't. So I'm going to have to throw all those things back in there if it gets below, you know, 35 degrees, which is pretty much all the time. That's a lot of work. I'll do it, though. It's worth it to have peppers and tomatoes. Okay, I'm talking long enough. I'm so sorry. But anyway, I hopefully these guys will just grow lush and wonderful and everything, and I can get some veggies off of them. I don't know. It's kind of distressing for some. You know, I'm not a vegetable gardener anyway. I mean, I was always a native plant and wildflower person. That was my thing. In fact, my whole life I did flowers and plants inside the house, outside the house. And then in just the last 5 or 6 years, I started doing vegetable gardening. And yeah, I'm not the greatest at it anyway, but I was better than this. You know, I was better than this. So, but it's all a challenge, and I love challenges, and I just have to dig in the dirt. I have to. I mean, I don't have to grow wildflowers and native plants anymore because I'm right out in it. It's all here, you know, and I can go out and enjoy it. But to get my urge to dig in the dirt, I have to do a garden. So vegetables, tomatoes. I mean, tomatoes. You gotta have fresh, homegrown tomatoes. And I always like peppers, so you know, I have to do that. I have to be able to dig in the dirt. Like my nails, they're dirty. They're always dirty. And that's the way I like it, you know. So, okay, I'm going to let you guys go. And thank you so much for watching. I know I can get really weird sometimes, but, you know, that's the way I am. Jeff and Mabel are doing great. And I hope you guys are too. And I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.